And we are back. Welcome back to another episode of the Deep Press Cincinnati Sports Fan Podcast. I am Jesse. That is Tommy. Before we start this podcast, I want you guys to just bear with me. Your boy is a little bit under the weather. I came back from Tennessee this weekend, and all of a sudden, Sunday night, I was feeling something in my throat. Pause. And then Monday morning, I was like a little bit scratchy. And then pretty much Monday and today, I'm a little bit under the weather, but you know what? The show must goes on. This podcast is still rolling. And I told Tommy, I was like, nope, I have not missed a single podcast at all in 2024. And I plan to keep that streak going because we got like 1 month left. So I was like, nope, you're not going to be a pussy. You're going to do this podcast and we're going to get this going. All right, so we're going to recap the Bengals' victory over the Raiders this past Sunday. Talk about the Bengals made a trade. Well, the Bengals got somebody via trade. Who would have thought that, right? I thought the Bengals were not going to do anything at the trade deadline. And then 8:30, 9 o'clock hits on Tuesday morning. Well, today, Bengals made a trade for a running back. We'll talk about that because I was like, wait a minute. I'm not so like, woo. Doesn't, like you told me this morning, Tommy, doesn't, move the needle. But hey, it's a need. But I still needing to get a pass rusher. And then we got to talk about the Ravens. They got a game in 48 hours. Big game, Thursday Night Football in Baltimore. They have to win this game. Every game's a must-win for the Bengals. They lose this game, you can kiss your playoff hopes goodbye if you're like the optimist Bengal fan out there. I talk too much. Tommy, how you doing on this Tuesday, Election Day?
Not too bad. This can be your version of the Michael Jordan flu game. But yeah, not too bad. I respect the voting sticker. Good job getting out there.
Yeah, I got to do my due diligence as an American. So, wow. Go out there and vote. I think polls close at like 7, wherever the hell you guys are living at. We won't talk politics on this podcast because they're going to stick to sports. But, we talk about that later. I'm just kidding. It's a sports podcast. All right. Let's talk about Sunday. And Bengals beat the Raiders 41-24. And some people are saying, well, Jesse, you should be happy that the Bengals won. Yes, but you're playing the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's not really a good football team because they came into the game 2-6, and they got Gardner Minshew at quarterback. No disrespect. I think Gardner Minshew is one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL, but this is a game where the Bengals needed to put the hammer down, and they did, especially on offense. I mean, the first 3 possessions in the first half, it went touchdown, field goal, touchdown, and then they kneeled the ball down to end the first half. And you look at the plays. The first offensive drive, 13 plays. Second, 14 plays. And then the third one was a quick touchdown of 5 plays, 70 yards. They were dealing. And Joe Burrow over here throwing 5 touchdowns like it's no big deal. And what I liked about on Joe on Sunday is that he was spreading the good of wealth on those 5 touchdowns. 1 went to Chase Brown. 1 went to Drew Sample. Who would have thought that, right? Mike Gesicki had 2 touchdowns. Finally get to see a Gesicki gritty. He still needs work on that. And Andre Yoshibas finally broke his streak of not having a touchdown since week 3. So that was good. But you look at Joe's stat line, 27 for 39, 69.2 completion percentage, 251 yards in the air, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. Some people are out here saying, well, he threw for 5 touchdowns, but he only had 250 on the air. Well, because those touchdown passes were from the red zone. And honestly, I'd rather have the Bengals capitalize in the red zone. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love explosive touchdown passes to Jamar Chase, but if Joe's only going for 250 for 5 touchdowns, that means the Bengals are scoring in the red zone, scoring touchdowns. So that's all I care. I don't really care about the passing yards. He had a QBR of 85.5. He's the only quarterback in the league to have 2 games of 5 touchdown passes. The only quarterback. That's insane. And so far the year, Joe has passed for 2,244 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 4 picks. Tommy, remember a couple of times we do our predictions before the season that you were always envisioning a Joe Burrow 40 touchdown, 8 pick season?
Now's the time.
I think this could be the year. He's just slinging it. A 76.3 QBR rating. If the Bengals weren't 4-5, this man is the league MVP right now. Easily. You can say Lamar Jackson, but I think that I don't know if they're going to give Lamar Jackson back-to-back, but if the Ravens keep winning, then Lamar Jackson probably might win another MVP, which, hey, he's balling. But Joe Burrow is just, he's on another level right now. And also his demeanor is, he's on one right now. And I think he is sensing the desperation of what this football team needs to do throughout the rest of the season, because every game they have to win. And I like that. And we'll talk about that here shortly. Chase Brown, first time of his career, 100-yard rushing day. Well done, Chase. 27 carries for 120, 4.4 average yards per rush. He had 5 catches for 37 yards and a touchdown. Chase Brown is officially running back number 1 of the Cincinnati Bengals. I know the Bengals signed Zach Moss in offseason. Even when the Bengals signed Zach Moss, I said that Chase Brown needed to be the Bengals running back number 1. And he is. Unfortunately, Zach Moss with the neck injury, he's probably going to miss the rest of the season. I think that just opens the opportunity for Chase Brown, and he is pretty much capitalizing it, and he is pretty much our starting running back for the future. Mike Gesicki, 5 catches, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 gritties. First gritty was really good. Second, I was like, all right, that's like typical Mike Gesicki when he played for the Patriots and the Dolphins. But for the longest time, I didn't understand why, even when Chase and Higgins were in the field together, the Bengals didn't use Gesicki more. Because I feel like, Chase is going to get double teamed and Higgins is going to be one-on-one, but you have another weapon in Mike Gesicki. And for some reason, Joe Burrow just makes tight ends that are mid, but Mike Gesicki is actually a decent tight end in the league. He just makes them really good. It's almost the feeling like when Tom Brady just made Julian Edelman really good, Wes Welker really good. It's just Joe Burrow, when it comes to his tight ends, it clicks. He got Hayden Hurst paid. I don't know. Drew Sample got involved. It's weird. It's Joe and his tight ends, they really have a special connection. And then offense was great in the first half. Second half, they get a touchdown. And then midway in the third quarter, fourth quarter, it wasn't the best. There was 3 and outs. Joe threw a pick 6. Too many delay of games. Jamar Chase dropped the pass. A couple of players missed a block or 2. And then there was confusion on what plays being run. And Zach Taylor had to call timeout. And Joe was really visibly upset. And that's why people are saying, why was Joe upset in the sideline? Because it's he realizes that there's no room for error, okay? You can get away with all those miscues you had against the Raiders in the second half because the Raiders are a good football team. They don't have nobody on offense that can really say that they can take over a game. When you're playing the Ravens on Thursday, you can't do that. You can't, because you're going to get your asses kicked. So that's why Joe was so upset, and people saying, oh, he's just being a bitch. And I'm just like, okay, sorry, guy wants to win, okay? And yes, he's going to be mad at Jamar because Jamar, I don't know why he tried to one-handed that. He could have easily put 2 hands on the ball and catch that ball, easily. And then your boy Travion Williams comes in the game. Here comes the free rusher for the Raiders. Dude just gets absolutely demolished, and Joe gets hit. It's stuff like that. And there was a couple of times where Zach Taylor was trying to call a play, and Joe was operating, and he was just getting upset, and players didn't know what's going on. And I think there was at one point when Gesicki had his second touchdown catch of the game, when he went for 47 yards. Joe went to the sideline, sat down, obviously visibly upset. Zach Taylor comes through, he gives him the fist pump, and you can tell he's just gives him that look, and it's just I know he's probably wasn't saying oh, Zach, oh, fuck off. No, it's just he's a perfectionist. And he said after the game on Sunday that today was good enough. What that told me is that, yeah, it's good enough, but it's I believe he doesn't think it's good enough for Thursday against the Ravens, whose offense is really good. And then the O-line, Mims in the beginning against Max Crosby. Max Crosby's a dog. We watching the game because I was out of town, so I had to rewatch the game that night. Mims was getting worked by Crosby, but second half he did a good job. And I thought the offensive line as a whole, they held up. People are saying, well, the Raiders don't really have a good D-line. Well, they got 2 pass rushers that can't get to the quarterback. Only 1 sack allowed. So I was fine with that. there was a couple of times where Crosby kept hitting Joe Burrow late, and he just put his hands up like, I didn't mean to. They were all like, okay, you're good, you're good. The second one is where it's like, all right, Max, you didn't have to push him late. I mean, if I was a fan, I would want Max Crosby on my team. However, it's the late stuff where it's like, dude, that stuff could cost us games. So yeah. But the offense was great in the first half, mid in the second half. It's not enough against the Ravens on Thursday if the offense played like that in the second half. Now, for the defense, they allowed an opening touchdown score, 11 plays, 70 yards. I was like, here we go again. Now, I couldn't watch the game because I was still on the road, but I texted you because I was following the game through Gamecast, and I'm like, they really allow the Raiders to get the ball to begin the game and go right down the field and score. I was like, wow, we're really gonna let the Las Vegas Raiders score a bunch of points inside Paycor Stadium, really? But it would not surprise me. But after that, defense was able to do the job: punt, field goal, punt, turnover, punt, turnover on downs, sack, fumble, and allowed a garbage touchdown in, which I didn't like because I'm like, there was a bogus pass interference too at the end. But however, I didn't like that they scored a touchdown right there. But allowed 217 total yards of offense, which is fine. 2 takeaways. Logan Wilson, 9 tackles, 2 fumble recoveries. Well, let's talk about Trey Hendrickson. 7 quarterback hits, 4 sacks, a career high. That man leads the league in sacks with 11. Man, I wish I would have, the prediction I had last year where Trey Hendrickson was going to lead the league in sacks. I look like a genius now because that man, I mean, I didn't make that prediction for this year, but that man is just, now people are realizing, oh, this guy's really good. No shit, he is. And he's pretty much the only guy on the defensive line. We've been saying this a lot all season that can get to the quarterback. So I'm happy for Trey. He deserves to get paid. I understand why he wanted to, get a trade going because he's freaking good. He's in the category with TJ Watt and you say Micah Parsons. Yeah, he's in there. Top 3 pass rusher in the league for sure. Chris Jenkins Jr., 5 tackles, 1 sack, first career sack in the NFL. Well done. And you have to play. They played better, okay? Defense played better, but you're playing the Raiders, okay? You got the Ravens coming up, and they put 41 on your asses a month ago. If you can't tackle against that Ravens team, then it's going to be a long Thursday night. But it's a good win. They needed it, but there's no way I'm like, woo, yeah, we're back in it. No. I pretty much have the same demeanor when the Bengals beat the Giants and the Browns. So, yeah, that's pretty much my take. What do you got?
A lot of good stuff. I have a lot of the same thoughts and had a lot of the same thoughts when I was watching and when I was thinking back on it. And so I'll kind of just comment on a lot of the stuff you brought up. But if I start with the 250 yards passing only for Joe Burrow with the 5 touchdowns, to me, that's a sign that your defense is getting stops so that you're getting better field position when you're starting. So he doesn't have to throw for 400 yards to be able to get in situations to score touchdowns. 2, it's also a good sign that Jake Brown had as good of a game as he did, over 100 yards, career high, 27 carries, because we were relying a lot more on the run to help us get down the field rather than only being able to get down the field through pass plays. And so we had a good distribution of passing and running plays, which we hardly ever do or hardly ever have a great distribution. So I liked that we did that. And like you said, I mean, the Raiders are not a very good team. Gardner Minshew is, if he was a backup quarterback, I would say is one of the top 3 backup quarterbacks in the NFL. But as a starter, he's just not as good as a starter. And so it's, you have to be able to beat teams like this that are just on paper and through their performance so far this year are just a much worse team than we are. Regardless of how we've been able to play defense so far this year, our offense should have been able to hang up 30 plus on them, and we did, which I think is really a good sign for the offense at least. But it continues the trend of us being able to put up a lot of points and get victories against the teams that just are not good or are below 500 And then anytime we play a team that's above 500, we can't get it done, and we can't find a way to pull out victories there. And we have a lot of these games where, using the Ravens in 2 days from now as an example, where for some reason we seem to play better or very well on the road, and in games where the other team is favored for sure. I think the last time I checked, the Ravens were a 6-point favorite.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's that much of a quality difference for it to be a 6-point spread, but they are at home and they're good at home. So generally speaking, so there's a lot to that, and I know that we'll go a little bit more into those games, but we have to be able to continue beating division rivals if we're gonna, even if we do end up being 10-7, like I know we've talked about, and Joe Burrow and others seem to think that 10-7 would be good enough to get in. With a really bad division or conference record, we're gonna lose all those tiebreakers. So I think we're gonna need a lot of these division games and conference games as much as possible. So it is good that the Raiders are in our conference, because that's another good conference W. But we kind of switch our identity and how we tend to call plays on offense and on defense against the bad teams versus the good teams. And so I hope that even though the Ravens have a very, very good run defense, I hope that we don't just abandon that and try passing all day long if the run game is not working immediately. We still need to work that in, keep that going. I agree. Gesicki's been really, really good. Jamar Chase is as amazing as he is, so there's not a whole lot to say there. But with T. Higgins being out, if he's going to be injured or not at 100%, even if he did play in a lot of these games, using Gesicki, the Eric All injury was super unfortunate, but using Gesicki across the middle of the field, Joe Burrow throws one of the best middle of the field seam routes in the entire league, if you ask me. And we need to find those spots, and we have them. If they're going to give you zone defense, if they're going to give you man defense, that I know that triggers Joe to look for different people and look at different spots of the field. I know you watched it later rather than fully live, but I feel like when I was watching this one live, it almost looked like Burrow was in training camp. Like, not like he wasn't getting pressure or anything like that, but every throw I felt like he was making the perfect right decision every single time. And, there were a couple later on that ended up not looking as great, but especially to begin the game. It's good when we start really hot like that. Hope that we can continue to do that, especially against the Ravens. And the Max Crosby stuff is funny because I agree he's really, really good. I would enjoy having him on our team too. And it was him and Joe were at least being like chummy about it when he would kind of run into him. So I like when that kind of stuff happens too. Like, it doesn't always have to be, I hate every person on the other side. It's kind of fun when they have a little humanity like that. Mm-hmm. The other couple things that I know we'll get into a little bit when we talk more about Joe specifically, but about Joe's kind of mentality through this that you touched on a little bit is Joe is a perfectionist. I think you nailed that perfectly. And he knows that, yeah, it was good enough to get the win, but he knows that good enough is not going to win you games against really good opponents. It's not going to get you to the playoffs. You have to play at an elite, amazing level against teams like the Ravens, against teams like the Steelers when we play like them, because they have a really good defense and good coaching. There's a lot of these games that we still have left on the schedule that we can't just play good enough, because that's when you lose those games. You can play like we played against the Raiders and you're going to win because, we honestly played pretty solid defense against Gardner Minshew, and I'm not going to say anything bad because he is a great UC alum, but I'm not exactly worried that we're going to lose games when Desmond Ridder comes in the game right now. And so when you bench Gardner Minshew, you get Desmond Ridder, and you're up by 3 touchdowns, it almost doesn't matter what you do because you're you're going to win still, which is good news. You get the win. Win's a win. We need wins for sure if we're going to stack them up, but certainly not as clean as it should be or we want it to be. And there's lots of things that I know Joe was upset about, and in his mentality, which I agree with, is doesn't matter if we're up by 30, doesn't matter if we're down by 30, it doesn't matter if we're playing the Raiders, doesn't matter if we're playing the Ravens. We have to be locked in. We have to be doing the right things because you have to make habits out of these things. So that way, when you're in those larger, much more intense moments, they just come out naturally. And so we have to keep practicing that. And I think that that's part of how he's being a leader, is he's showing like, I'm not content with just beating the Raiders and looking like kind of like crap at sometimes during the games. Like, we have to clean that up, celebrate the victories. Had a good day statistically for a lot of folks, but got to be better in a couple areas. And yeah, that's not a whole lot else on that stuff. But the last thing I'll kind of mention super quick is Chase Brown is definitely the number one of this team, and I think we should continue using him that way. And Khalil Herbert is a good backup for depth. But honestly, because we never make midseason trades, and this is, I think, the only one we're going to end up making, what I am glad about is, as good as Trey Hendrickson just played, 4-sack performance, boosting him up to league leader, I'm pretty confident that if we lost that game, we would have traded him to the Lions. I that's kind of like speculation, Lions specifically, but like, the Lions went after Zadarius Smith. You telling me they'd rather have Zadarius Smith than Trey Hendrickson? Trey Hendrickson was already requesting a trade. He's the only one that can get a pass rush. If we lost to the Raiders, we could basically call it on the season. And so they might just have tried to ship a lot of people out of town, which the fact that we made no trades getting rid of anybody and only brought in some running back depth makes me think that the organization as a whole still thinks that there's a real shot at this. But the one thing that I have not seen from them that I would like to see is, if they still think we have a shot at this, we need to make moves on pass rush. We need to find a way to get somebody in the building if we think that that's a real shot that we have this year, or they're just content playing somewhere in the middle of the pack and adding running back depth, which is good. Khalil Herbert's a solid player. I like him as a backup running back, but I don't think it moves the needle all that much. On to the next thing.
No, great things. The Trey Hendrickson to the Lions thing, they would have lost to the Raiders. I think the Lions would have pulled that trigger, because
I think they would have called. I think they would have called at least.
Oh, for sure. I think the Bengals would have been like, okay, give us more draft picks, because, the Bengals have been a really great organization when it comes to drafting players over the last 3 years. Sure, yeah, give us more draft picks. I think with the trade deadline, we can talk about this, but well, you think that if Herbert does well for the next, let's see, what we got? We're 8 games into the season, so what? 7 games left? 8 games left? Right? 8, 9.
8.
So say he does well. We played. It's 17 game schedule. Yeah. So 9 games left. So say if Herbert does well, you think the Bengals are going to try to like re-sign him in the offseason, maybe, if he does perform? Because I don't see I could see them where they could potentially release Zach Moss just because of his injury. And if Herbert performs, also Herbert is actually a really good, he could be a special team player as well. So he could take the void of Charlie Jones, because Charlie Jones, he's dealing with a groin injury and we don't know his status for Thursday night. So he could be playing special teams, and Herbert's already going to have a big role, maybe. We'll see. But it was surprising when I got the news about the trade for Herbert. I really was, because I was thinking, wait, Bengals made a trade. I'm like, oh, they're going to make a trade for Calais Campbell? It's like, oh, no, Khalil Herbert. I'm just like, okay, that's That's fine, but Calais Campbell to the Bengals makes the perfect sense in the world. It fixed that problem on the defensive line, but I guess they I guess they I guess they believe more that the offense want to be more explosive, or obviously the running back depth is a little short, and they don't trust Trayvon Williams. No disrespect to the dude, but he's really not good. I thought he was going to be good, but I guess not. And I think the Bengals are content that the defense has played well 3 of the last 4 games. The Eagles game was a disaster, but they played well against the Giants and Browns and Raiders. So the organization's like, we don't need to make no moves. We're fine. Okay, we'll see how they do Thursday night against the Ravens. But hey, you know what? Whatever it helps for the offense to be more explosive, because we don't know the status of T. Higgins. He did not practice. They're practicing right now. He didn't practice today, so it's more than likely that dude's not going to play. Unfortunately, I love T, but my guy, do you need a wheelchair? Love you, but damn. So yeah, that sucks. But let's talk about Joe Burrow and his psycho demeanor. It's not the first time Joe has gone like psycho, where he's like, being all mad and not pouty, but he just wants to be perfect. And then after the game, Zach Taylor does game balls after they win, and Zach was he was listing the stats for Joe, and he's like, Joe Burrow, 27 for 39, 251, 5 touchdowns, quarterback completion percent of 69.2. Joe Burrow, yeah, throws the ball to Joe. Immediately, Joe throws the ball back. I laughed so hard. I was like, wait a minute. Did he throw that ball back? People are saying, well, no, the guy that was holding on to the game balls, he got another ball because I think he had to give out like 3 of them more. No. I did some deep analysis. Oh, Joe threw that ball back. It was like really quick like that. Then after the game balls, Joe actually led the speech saying like, we got the W, big game on Thursday. He was pretty much saying, this is Joe's quote, get your fucking bodies right. And I was like, okay, this man, he knows how important this is. And when you're talking about how he needs to take a bigger step in his leader role to be more of a voice, I think he took that to heart. And I've seen a change. I really do. And I do like this side of Joe. And also, he's going back to Baltimore, where last year he ended the season with the wrist injury. And also, after the game, the post game for Amazon Prime, you can hear Ravens fans in the background when we're talking in the panel saying, fuck Joe Burrow. He remembers that. And he was saying that in the presser today, we were talking with the media, he was like, yeah, I kind of figured there's a reason why they put this game back at Baltimore at Thursday Night Football. He said there was a reason why. And I'm like, oh, he remembers. He remembers. And more so the injury, but I think he hears what the Baltimore Ravens fans say. And he's on killer mode right now. I love this. Like, I really do. And this, man, I don't think the game's going to be a blowout. I really don't. I think that, not having T is going to suck. Not having Eric All, such a bummer, because he tore his ACL, the same knee injury same knee he tore when he was in Iowa. Such a bummer. But Zach said that he'll make a full recovery. But 2 ACL injuries in 2-3 years for Eric All. He was such an important piece on offense. He was beginning to catch the ball as well, but more so for his blocking. He do love the block, and he was just excelling in his role. So that was really a gut wrencher right there. But yeah, there was a quote here by Joe. He said, I'm not just going to ignore the bad. I don't think that's a recipe for improvement. I think we could have done better. He also said we didn't exactly have a good third quarter, on why he was pissed. And then he said, I'm going to strive for perfect every game, every day. It was just good enough today, like we talked about. So I like this side of Joe. I think that's our franchise quarterback. You want him to be in a mode where he's like, job's not finished. Famous quote by Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. So, you want anything to add on that?
No, I was just about to say that exact quote, is that it feels a lot like that Kobe interview where he's like, what's there to be happy about? And so
yeah,
I'm honestly kind of on the same boat. I'm on board with him having this mentality as long as it's continuing to translate to success. I could see not you and me, for example, but the haters out there. I could see, us losing to the Ravens or like maybe someone after that, and then it becoming a meme of like him going psycho mode to beat up on just trash teams, and then it's just like a corny thing on how he's acting like this, and we're 3 games below 500. So I'm good with it. I think I agree that he's never gonna be happy with just the good enough stuff. He's happy we got the win because that's what he cares about. It's like his sophomore season when we went to the Super Bowl and he won Comeback Player of the Year, and he basically was just like, hooray, and then like went off because he was focused on the one thing that was winning the Super Bowl. And I think that winning a national championship in college, winning the Heisman in college, winning Comeback Player of the Year, being honestly probably top 2 or 3 MVP candidates so far this year, I would argue. I'm good with it. If that mentality is what he needs to get it done, I think that that's how he's going to vocalize this leadership thing a little bit more. He's not the kind of leader that's going to run into the huddle and yell at people, and I don't want him to either way anyway. Like, if you want to teach people, great, but I don't want him to become something he's not, because he's been a winner in his career at LSU, won the Heisman and the national championship. He got us to a Super Bowl in his second year, his first full healthy season. And we've done a lot of winning, which this franchise had gone a while without true optimism like that. And he won us our first playoff game and many more after that in my lifetime. And so that's how he's going to do his version of leadership, is to show that he's not going to just let the bad stuff slide. He's going to find ways to improve his own game. He's going to find ways to help others improve theirs, and just keep focused on the mission of winning games. But I'm hoping that it continues to translate to stacking up some wins instead of becoming like a corny meme of his.
I hope not. Like, if say they do beat Baltimore on Thursday, I feel like Joe will be like, okay, we needed that win. All right, on to the next one. Because he knows what happened beginning of the season where they were losing games and they were scoring so many points. It's like, we dug us up a big hole, and now we have to like climb our way back, and it's gonna get harder and harder and harder. So yeah, I want Joe to be himself, but also, he's speaking up a little bit. And I like that. I really do. All right, before we talk about the Ravens, let's talk about Jermaine Burton. All right. So Sunday morning, I'm like on my phone. I'm at breakfast, and I'm just squirming, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, Jermaine Burton, he's gonna play on Sunday because T. Higgins is out. This is a great opportunity for him to have. And here's his audition to see what he's make up. This is going to be his biggest play time of his NFL career. Perfect opportunity, right? Great, yes. Then I see that he was a healthy scratch. And I'm like, at first I was like, what the fuck are these coaches doing? And then it was brought to everyone's attention that Jermaine slept through walkthroughs and no call or no show. Now, if you're an employee working at a job, right? If you're not going to show up, you can at least call, right? If you no call, no show, that's a bad thing. Jermaine Burton, my guy, you're a 3rd-round draft pick. You're a rookie. You have a phone, obviously, because I know you're on your phone a lot. How can you miss? How do you miss walkthroughs? How do you miss walkthroughs, sir? Come on now. Knowing that you're a big Joe Burrow last week came to defense. He praised you, saying that, oh, I'm looking forward to seeing Jermaine do a lot of great things, and he's going to have a great role and a big impact on my game this past Sunday. And then you go ahead and do that. You don't even tell the team that you're not showing up. And then This man had the audacity to show up wearing pajama pants. Really? Like, what? Are we being serious? Or you think this is just like, oh, I'm an NFL player, so I can do whatever I want? Now, you're young, okay? Jamar Chase was talking to the media today, and he said that he missed like one practice because he didn't tell anybody. And he said that was the last time he like no call, no show for any practice. He realized that. He's like, I can't do that. Okay. I can't do that to my team, can't do it to myself. He's like, I hold myself to a standard. And one of the media reporters asked him, are you gonna like give Jermaine Burton advice of that? And he's like, no, he's a grown man. He doesn't need to tell him that. So I don't. And then also it was brought to my attention. I don't know if that was him in the casino, but Jermaine Burton was in the casino that night after they beat the Raiders. And it looked like him because he was wearing the gray sweatshirt the Bengals were wearing. I think it was like gray military type of sweatshirt, whatever. It looked like Jermaine Burton. Listen, I don't have a problem with grown men going and gambling in a casino. I don't go to the casino and gamble, but now I do bets, but that's different. You go to casinos, like that's a different story, different environment. But it's a bad look. It is a bad look. It's like, dude, like Zach was saying after the game that, we support Jermaine, we're gonna help him out through this. And then I see that picture and I'm like, I hope he's, I don't know if there's something like if it is a little bit too much for him or he's not taking it seriously, but come on now. Can't be doing that. And it's, as of now, Zach said that Jermaine will play on Thursday. As of now, let's hope he doesn't miss the flight to Baltimore tomorrow because he's sleeping. I hope not. I don't want to bash Jermaine Burton because I think he has the potential to be a really, really good fit for this offense. But it's like, if these things keep being reoccurring, then the Bengals knew, right, when they drafted him that he has some character issues. I'm not saying no one's perfect, right? We all have issues, right? But the Bengals drafted him just because he has a talent to be a really good NFL receiver. However, it comes with that stuff where it's like the immaturity or, not showing up to like meetings or sleeping allegedly during meetings. Like, you can't do that as a professional football player. And you were playing at Alabama with Nick Saban, best college coach ever. You had some incidents there as well. And then before he went to Alabama, he played at Georgia, Kirby Smart. He had some stuff there too. So the Bengals knew, and the Bengals are known for drafting players that have had some issues in college and etc. But that was with the Marvin Lewis era. Marvin Lewis really loved those type of players because he wants to be their father, and pretty much he helped them to become like men in the NFL, right? To grow up. I mean, one example I think of, I know we know about Pac-Man Jones. He's a little wild out there, but I think Marvin did a good job of keeping him calm at times, even though Adam Pac-Man Jones is not the calmest person and not the calmest human there is out there. But he was staying out of trouble for a little bit, and then he got like towards the end of his career as the Bengals, he got into some shit. But like Marvin tried to help Chris Henry, got rest of his soul. Unfortunately, he passed away, and tried to help Vontaze Burfict. Vontaze Burfict is a head case because dude is so freaking talented, but dude can't. It's just when it comes to his on-field shit, it's just annoying. It wasn't in trouble off the field; it's just his on-field shit. But I just hope that Jermaine Burton realizes that, dude, it's kind of like strike two. And if this happens again, then the Bengals have to consider, like, dude, we can't keep doing this and giving you second chances after second chances. I hope he learns a lesson from this. I really do. But I just don't like seeing this from a guy that has the potential to be really good in this league, and he's not really taking his job serious. But I don't know what's going on with him mentally. I don't know. So I'm going to be not trying to be hard on him, but it's like, come on now, you're professional. So what do you think?
You phrased it super well, so I don't have too much to add, but I think what the reality is just that he's really immature, and it's definitely not to say that he can't become more mature throughout the year. But I think that there's a couple things involved here, which are I completely agree. I think that in 99% of scenarios, whatever, that you make a mistake, it's okay. You get held accountable for it by being a healthy scratch for a game, but then you move on from it. You decide like, okay, here's the action plan, so I'm going to make sure this doesn't continue to happen, and then we don't hold it against you. It's okay. You made a mistake. It's okay. You owned up to it. You were held accountable for a game, and now let's make sure that doesn't happen again. And they're gonna, help them through it, help make these plans, whatever. But the other part is, like you said, being under Nick Saban, who I know runs a tight ship in college, and already having some troubles, staying within the rules of the team and the goals for what's going on. And that's part of the reason that he slipped in the draft. And so we took a shot at him. We're like, you know what? Maybe he just needs to get a little bit of mentorship. Maybe he just needs to mature a little bit, and then he's going to be a great receiver. And maybe that was just he'll leave that behind in college. And so I feel like when you're coming out of college with those things, you have a little bit less leniency, generally speaking, because they're going in like, this guy already had issues. Now he's doing a no call, no show. He's like sleeping through walkthroughs. And then I don't know. It definitely looked like him. I don't know for sure about the casino thing. And again, I'm also like not against the gambling thing. I don't care about that, but it kind of just speaks to the immaturity a little bit more, in the sense of if you're in, I don't really know that it's necessarily the headlines, but if you're in the discussions about missing practices, or practice, I won't pluralize it, but missing a practice, healthy scratch, and the other immaturity things that are following you around, you just have to know that is not the right time to go to the casino. And he was wearing slides, he was wearing shorts, he was wearing a little hoodie. Like, that is not the attire of a man whose first time it is in a casino. And he was seemingly by himself. Like, I don't know if it's like, if he has an issue with it or not. That's not even necessarily worth speculating on. But I just think he's, unfortunately, right now a little immature. And so what I would like to see, to be honest, from Ja'Marr is, he's like, well, he's a grown man, so he can, figure out how to do this himself. Not everyone knows how to do that or what to do to make sure these things don't continue to happen. And so in the receiver room, I would like Ja'Marr to take that leadership role and be like, look, it's okay. We're not like, we're not that pissed at you. It's one game. It's not a big deal. But this can't keep happening. Like, what can I do to help you? I just feel like I don't love that tomorrow was like, he'll figure it out. Like, you may have to help him figure it out, because I don't know that he's at the maturity level at the moment to make these smart choices himself.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope Jermaine Burton fixes it. Figure it. He's young. We've all been there. We're like 18, 19, 20. We're immature. Yeah. But you're a professional football player. I think that you need to take your job a little serious. Well, no, you gotta take your job serious. So I really do hope that this is the last time. This has to be the last time, because I don't hear any more Jermaine Burton healthy scratches. I'm out. I'm out. And it's gonna be it's gonna look bad on the Bengals. It's like, okay, you drafted him with some of these questionable things and his character and his issues. And look at that. So, yeah. All right, Baltimore, Thursday night. Baltimore comes in 6-3. You know what happened the last meeting. I don't have to recap that, because you can listen to that podcast. Bengals lost 41-38 in overtime. And Baltimore just hanged 41 points on a really solid Denver Broncos defense last Sunday. I really thought the Broncos were going to be in that football game. I didn't think they were going to outscore Baltimore, but I thought they were going to at least like maybe contain Lamar Jackson. Yeah, that didn't happen. And when I saw that score, I was like, oh boy, I don't want the Bengals. It just makes me really nervous for the Bengals defense. We already talked about Lamar Jackson. His stats are really crazy. 20 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's passed for 2,379 yards, 505 rushing, 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry already has 1,000 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns. He has 2 receiving. Zay Flowers, he's a concern for me. He's come along lately. So far this year, 654 receiving, 3 touchdowns. Rashad Bateman, he's there, but for some reason the Bengals allowed him to go off in the first game. So far, he has 447 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. Mark Andrews starting to get back to who Mark Andrews is. He has 4 receiving touchdowns. Can't forget about Justice Hill running and receiving. Ravens defense, really good against the run. I think the best in the league. I know their pass defense is very suspect, but they can still get to the quarterback. I'm trying to think of their pass rusher. Is it Kyle Van Noy? We got Van Noy and is NBK still there? I don't think he is.
Isn't
yeah,
it
NBK? I see this player.
I don't even remember who it is right now.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever it is, it's like I know that they can give up yards in the air, but both teams know each other and they can still get to the quarterback. So the offensive line, Atlanta Brown Jr., it's reported that he was limited in practice tonight. So he might play, he might not. We'll see. Guaranteed it's going to be a game time decision on Thursday night. And then so we got Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties in the league. Just like the first game, you have to score points. I think that if the Bengals want to win this game, they got to score over 30. And for the Bengals defense, I think we just got to pray. I think the night before the game or before kickoff, we all need to pray and just hope that the Bengals defense can at least, because I know there's not going to be no pass rush. I know that. I'm already envisioning the game on Thursday night, and I'm seeing Lamar Jackson, just like he did in the first game, just having so much time in the pocket. I'm seeing that. Trey's getting double teamed. I'm envisioning that, and I'm just like, fuck, we're screwed. We're screwed. Because our corners, not good. There's a couple times during the Raiders game where the corners were getting beat. No disrespect to Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, go Bearcat, but these receivers you can't be getting beat. And now you're going to be playing against Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman and Justice Hill. That's not good. It's not good. I'm not confident in the defense at all in this football game. I think the offensive line needs to play good. I think we need to not shy away from the running game like you talked about earlier. I think Joe needs to go on psycho mode in this game. I think he needs to. Well, he said in the first meeting before the first game that he needs to play perfect. Well, he needs to in this football game. And can they win? I don't know. It's like you played against the Raiders, and you need T. Higgins in this football game because you saw what he did in the first meeting. He had 2 touchdown receptions. You don't have him. You know the Ravens are. I know Jamar Chase went nuclear on them, but I know they're going to say, Jamar, you're going to get probably triple team, and we're going to allow Gesicki or Yoshi Voss or let's see his name. Maybe Chase Brown catching the ball from the receiving land. He's been decent lately. They're going to try to let them beat them. And I think Joe will try to spread the wealth in this game, but I think he's going to realize that, like, I need Jamar Chase to play better than he did against the Raiders on Sunday. Because the Raiders didn't really have a good pass defense coming into that football game. So I know that Gesicki had his career day, well, his best game as a Bengal, but this is a game where Jamar needs to be better than he was against Las Vegas. I think he will. Is it going to be enough? I want Chase Brown to be more active. I think Khalil Herbert might make an impact in this game. I don't know, man. I don't know. It could be like the first game. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be 41-38. I see it being like, I don't know if Ravens are going to hit 30 points. I know that. It's that can the Bengals hit 30 points? If they can, then they have a shot. Also, if they do get a chance to, like, if they're in field goal range, I'm sorry, but you go for it. If it's 4th and 3, 4th and 4, and you're in Evan McPherson range, no, go for it. Nope. You need touchdowns in this game. And I'm sorry, Evan has not been good enough this year or the last 2 years. Go for it. Go for it. If the opening drive, you're driving the ball down the field, it's 4th and 4, and this is a what? Evan McPherson range of what? 51 yards? Go for it. I don't give a shit. And they don't get it, that's fine. Okay? At least you went for it. Because I'm sick of this man missing field goals and the team gets the ball back and go down the field. Not happening in this football game. So I think it should be a good game. Just not having T out there, I'm really, really concerned because T's not out there. It could be a long day for the offense. But, Joe, prove me wrong, guy. Prove me wrong. What do you got?
Yep. I would love to be proved wrong as well. I think this is a game where our plan for it is simple, but the execution is really difficult. Just create a very good running scheme similar to how we did last week, where we actually make smart choices. We don't abandon the run if it's not working super well. This isn't ideal numbers or anything like that, but when we played the Ravens earlier this year, they were the best rush defense then too, and Chase Brown still had 3.8 yards per carry. It's not like he was averaging a yard and a half. So we could still, we can't just get rid of the run entirely. So I think continue to run the ball, don't abandon it super early. I think it's going to at least be close at halftime still. If a team starts to pull away, I could see it happening late, but it's going to be close at halftime. So let's continue running the ball, making smart runs and not just running it for the sake of running it, but actually using it to open up other parts of our game. I think we need to take shots when we get the opportunities for them, but don't force them if they're not there. Joe Burrow is one of the better quarterbacks in the league to take what is given to him. If they're running zone plays, let's just run the nice sit curl route right in front of a linebacker or a safety and move the chains that way. Let's take the checkdowns if we need to, and just keep moving the ball in a positive direction before they can get to you. They're going to be getting a lot of pressure, and we need to get the ball out quickly, make smart decisions, which Joe always does, and keep the run going. That's pretty much the recipe on offense. It sounds simple on paper. There's only a few real keys to make it happening or to make it happen. They sound easy to do. They are difficult to actually execute against really good defenses, which the Ravens are. But we also scored 38 points against this exact same defense. So I certainly can be proven wrong and have been proven wrong when I am a little more pessimistic about how we're going to do as a team. But I don't think we're going to score 30 again this time. And so I'm just hoping that we can somehow stop them from scoring 30. I know the same thing as you. We're going to watch Lamar have 4 or 5 seconds, similar to Jalen Hurts the other week. And he's playing insanely well. He has as good and crazy well as Joe Burrow's played this year. Lamar Jackson has more passing yards, the same amount of touchdowns, less picks. And that's not to include all the rushing yards. We didn't even talk about Derrick Henry. So it's like they're really firing on all cylinders on both the offense and the defense. Harbaugh's a smart coach. I think this is going to be a very, very difficult game to win on the road, but we're operating right now on offense, at least, in a way that we can put up points and score and stay with any team in this league. And so I hope that we can find a way to manufacture more points. I'm with you, and this is something we actually didn't bring up yet on the Raiders game that I'm on board with for the Ravens as well. If we're in, the middle of the field, we're on the edge of McPherson territory. Honestly, if the field goal is more than 40 yards, I'm totally fine with going for it more often on 4th down. Something that we actually did really, really well against the Raiders, which is something you and I talked about the last couple weeks here, is if we're going to go for it on fourth down, running a wide receiver screen route is actually coaching negligence. Do what we just did against the Raiders. Have 5 guys run 5 legitimate routes, no screens, and let Joe Burrow make the right decision. And he did it, I think, 2 or 3 times on fourth down when we just actually ran routes and let him make smart decisions. So just keep doing that if we have to. If the field goal is going to be too long, we don't trust Evan. I get that. But let's call some real plays here. Let's not just do stuff behind the line of scrimmage and hope that Jamar can make a good enough juke to get to the sticks. So make smart decisions there. The last thing, just about, I feel like you mentioned something at the very end there that I was going to comment on, but don't remember it. So I think that's it.
Defense?
Maybe. I honestly don't even know. Was it on defense?
I just said I just think we just need to pray.
Oh yeah.
So.
I don't know. I'm hoping it'll be a fun game. I'm hoping we don't embarrass ourselves on Thursday Night Football, and I don't think we will. I think it'll be close, like you said, regardless. I think we can cover a 6-point spread that we're currently the betting odds against, but it's going to be a tough.
I was talking about T, having T out there.
Yeah. That hurts a lot, and yeah, I think there's not much else to say. I think that we need to execute very, very well on the things that we do well at, and then just hold on for dear life in the things we don't.
No, Trent Irwin's going to get snaps. No disrespect to Trent Irwin. And not having Eric All, that's a big blow right there. And all hands on deck. Everyone needs to show up. You gotta play perfect in this game. Do I see that happening? I'm not really that confident. I want to be, but we'll see. All right, man. Almost under an hour. Holy shit. All right. Anything else to add before we get out of here?
We got to get out of here in 2 minutes and 50 seconds, so not much else. I'm hosting a couple people. They're going to come over on Thursday and watch the game with me, and so I'm hoping that we don't embarrass ourselves during this.
Well, that would help, right? Because it's like if they're getting blown out, it's like, okay, you can focus on the people that you're hosting for.
True. It does help. And I also wouldn't be as annoyed at watching it when other people are there anyway. So
True. Yeah. I'll be watching it by myself, per usual, because I just can't watch people. And I'm still under the weather, but hopefully I'll feel better by then. All right, sir. Well, Instant Reaction podcast after the game on Thursday night. It's going to be a late one. Hopefully it's a better Instant Reaction podcast they did than it was last year when we played the Ravens on Thursday night and Joe got hurt. I was really bummed. So hopefully this Instant Reaction podcast will be way better than it was last year. And then no game on Sunday, so I guess we'll talk about this football game next week. And then the Bengals have another primetime game against the Chargers. It was flexed on Monday. So Bengals-Chargers from LA, Sunday Night Football, Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow. Round 2. They played each other in Joe Burrow's first game in 2020, COVID, where we should have won that game. But, pass interference on AJ Green, but that was bullshit. Joe was really, that final drive, I was like, damn, we're going to, in this first ever NFL start, he's going to lead a game-winning drive, and then we got fucked. And then Randy Bullock, oh, my calf. Yeah, okay, you missed that field goal wide left. Oh, right. All right, man. Anything else?
Nope. Hopefully we can enjoy this one. Hopefully it's at least a fun game to watch, and then we can enjoy a full Sunday where we don't have to worry about the Bengals.
Damn right. All right, man. Always a pleasure. All right, y'all. Appreciate listening to this podcast. I'll be back on Thursday night to hopefully do a winning instant reaction podcast. And we're out. Go Boat.